everyone, and welcome back to Brown Coat Reviews. I'm your host, Laura. Now here at Brown Coat Reviews, we do different comic book reviews, we go behind the scenes at different live shows, comic book shops, and we interview different artists, writers, and what we're trying to do is show you the other side of whether it's the camera, the comic book shop, or the comic books themselves. We also show off some cool collections, and we have everyone's favorite show, Married with Comics. That's where my husband and I talk about the different stories that he's reading, I'm reading, we're reading together, and what it's like to be a married couple who both read comic books. It's a lot of fun. Now, we are having a 500 subscriber giveaway. We're doing two separate giveaways, one for just general subscribers and a second one for people who are participating in the comments section. So if you want to qualify for both, please make sure to subscribe, like, share, and comment, and I will be talking to you all very soon. Now, before I get started with today's review, I had to share something really cool that happened this weekend. Now, every Saturday morning, I wake up, I make my tea, and I sit down and I watch the week's episode of diydanie that is released that morning. I love her channel. diydanie is a YouTuber, and she does a lot of, DIY projects. So she will make woodworking projects, she'll do custom lamps, she will make different art pieces, and she will do full-on renovations in her home. She's always very budget friendly, and she's always intrigued on finding creative ways to take something that is, worth thousands of dollars and how to create it on a reasonable budget and still make it creative and fun. And then she's also just got this amazing enigmatic personality. So this Saturday's episode was her painting a mural. And while she was painting, she was answering some questions that had been submitted by the fans in advance. One of the questions was about her other geeky interests that she has. And of course, she's talking about Star Wars, and then she started talking about comic books. And she gave a whole list of recommendations, and one of the titles she recommended was actually one I had just purchased and was reading, was The Chew. So I thought it was amazing because we all know that typically in the comic book industry, there are more men than there are women. There are women who are reading comic books. It's just harder to find us. So I thought it was really, really refreshing to have another woman who was willing and proud to stand up and say, I read comic books and I love all these different titles, and to encourage other women to try it as well. So huge, huge thing. And of course, for other women out there who are willing to try comic books, or at least give it a shot, definitely try The Chew. So we're going to talk about why. Now, The Chew is written by John Layman and the art is done by Rob Guillory. This is a New York Times best-selling series. The artwork, everything won several awards, nominations. It was very, very well received, and I know why. So I started this book and I had to purposefully stop myself from flying through the whole thing, because it's like a good meal. You just have to kind of savor every single moment of it, because it's one of those stories you start it and you're like, oh, it's gonna be good. I can just tell. So, storyline. You have our main character of Tony Chu, who is a police officer with the Philadelphia Police Department. And he is investigating violations of the avian flu law. So most of you remember the big swine flu epidemic that happened and everyone was avoiding pork. Well, this is now people who are avoiding poultry. So specifically chicken. Basically, there was this huge flu that happened, everyone got sick, and then chicken was outlawed. There are people who try and create, it's not even like a chicken byproduct, it's some sort of soy amalgamation thing that doesn't even taste like chicken. So if you want chicken, the only way to get it is to go to one of these speakeasies and order it at a restaurant, pay an exorbitant price, and take some of the chicken out to go. So Tony Chu and his partner are doing a stakeout on the other side of this speakeasy, and they're trying to catch people who are purchasing large amounts of chicken. Before they go in to bust someone, we have Agent Mason Savoy, who steps in and says, no, your investigation is hereby canceled. Do not touch the speakeasy. You are finished. Agent Savoy works for the FDA, and somehow they have jurisdiction because it is involving chicken. He slyly offers the officers to, they can send it up the ranks knowing that politically they will get the slap on the wrist that says, why are you wasting everyone's time, and not just walking away. Or they get kind of an unofficial opportunity to go in to the speakeasy, eat the chicken, and basically the FDA will turn a blind eye to the whole thing and pay for the meal. So Agent Chew and his partner go on into the speakeasy and they decide to behave themselves. Now, Tony Chew has a very special ability. He is sebopathic, which basically means whenever he eats something, with the exception of beets, if he eats an apple, for instance, he will remember not just how the apple was grown and picked, he will remember the pesticides that went into that individual piece of fruit. Same thing with meat. He will remember the life and death of the animal. Then you get a splatter of blood, which happens at the beginning of this issue. The chef in the back is making chicken soup, cuts his finger, some of the blood gets on the vegetables, and he just tosses the vegetables into the soup, and Tony Chew can still taste it. And as soon as Tony Chew decides to try some of this soup, he gets this instant reaction. And suddenly he realizes that the chef who made the soup is a serial killer, and that he has attacked and killed 11 women. He eats some of the chicken, realizing that it's actually meat from a human being, now knows the name of the person, and the two officers decide to go into the back and arrest the serial killer. However, the serial killer, being a serial killer, has no desire to release the names and information about the other 11 victims and decides to kill himself. So, Tony Chew does the only logical thing that he can come up with and decides to eat some of the dead body, and instantly he's able to recall all 11 names, locations, and all the details of those murders. So his sebopathic capabilities are now helping to solve murders, mysteries, and different crimes. It's a cool idea. Now, the police force, of course, has no idea how to explain, one, how on earth he was able to solve a mystery, and two, why he was eating a victim's body, because technically the serial killer is still a victim. And then the FDA comes in, and Agent Savoy, who was just telling them to, go on into the restaurant and turn a blind eye, he's saying, the FDA will take everything from here. We want Officer Chew on our force. He is now an agent with the FDA. Everything's changed. We find out that the FDA has been hiring sebopaths and putting them to work to help solve different crimes of various types. So that's sort of the premise that starts everything with our storyline. Now, if you watched our Married with Comics pull video recently, I talked about how I absolutely loved the TV series iZombie. iZombie took a lot of ideas from Chew. In iZombie, you have Liv Moore, who is our main character, who is a zombie, and she works in a morgue, and whenever she eats the brain of a dead human being, she starts getting some of the memories in flashbacks, and she starts solving murders by getting these flashbacks, and she sort of takes on the personality of whoever she's consumed for that week's episode. It's a really, really great series. But, as I said, it definitely has a lot of hints of Chew in it. So what makes Chew different from iZombie is we start kind of with this simple concept of, okay, we're going to solve murders. He's going to eat some item, and he's going to be able to start piecing together some of these crimes. Cool. We know we're dealing with the FDA, so we have plenty of federal bureaucracy, which is always interesting. And then, of course, we have Agent Savoy, who we don't know everything about yet. So we're still kind of piecing him together and seeing how these two agents are now working together. We still don't know how and why certain people are given sebopathic capabilities. Okay? But what gets really interesting is that issue number 1 is sort of your introduction of how Tony Chew joins the FDA. Issue number 2 starts with one murder that they're trying to solve. And they find a finger at a really crummy burger joint. And they're trying to figure out whose finger it is. They figure out whose finger it is, but now they're still trying to find the person who is supposed to be attached to that finger. And as you keep going through the issues, there's still this kind of underlying mystery of what's going on with the person who was tortured and lost a finger. And then we start getting to issue number 5, which is the end of volume 1. And suddenly we take a humongous twist. We find out more about who was that person, why was the finger taken away, are there other political implications, what's really going on with this avian flu pandemic? Is it real? And if it isn't, why are people being told to be afraid of chicken? And it just starts kind of unpacking, and then it starts getting really interesting. There are exactly 12 individual trade paperback volumes, or you can get their deluxe edition omnivore editions, which basically there are 6 of them, so it collects 2 of the trade paperbacks. I want the omnivore editions. Oh, I've already found them. I'm trying to wait for a sale, but I need, it must be on this shelf. Chew must be in my life. Honestly, when I heard about Chew from a great friend, Chris, who I've shown you his cool collectibles, he even talked about Chew being one of the very first runs that he started grabbing because he loved the series as well. For me, I was a little distracted by the artwork, and it fits. It is beautiful artwork, but it's different. So at first, I'm like, okay, so Chew is some guy eating people, but he's not a zombie, and he's solving murders. Okay, am I gonna like this? And then I finally started reading it, and the artwork, it makes sense. It all fits together, and it sort of creates this alternative world where ceebopaths exist, and people with other capabilities are also there too. And then you could just get transported into this other realm, and there's no turning back. So I can't recommend this series enough, but I will say it is probably one of the rarer titles that people know about. Whenever I talk on different comic book groups and I talk to different people about their favorite series, with the exception of Chris, very few people mention Chew being one of their favorites. It's very rare that people will even talk about Chew, which after reading volume 1, I think is incredibly sad. It's so well written, it's so well drawn, and the storyline just keeps getting better. So my big questions for you all: have you read Chew before? Are you a fan? And if you hadn't read Chew before, had you at least heard of the title? Was this one that maybe you passed by because of the artwork or because of the concept? And is this now one that you will check out because of it? And is there another title similar to Chew where there are a small number of people that seem to know about it, but it's not a famous Marvel or DC title that you wish more people would read and check out? Let me know down in the comments. I look forward to hearing from all of you. And as always, this is Laura from Brown Coat Reviews, and I'll be talking to you all again very soon. Have a great day.